Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at Mid Shadow. I know I've looked at it not that long ago, I think it might have been a week or two ago, but it's a bit hard to find a bunch of new deck lists and even fun decks just to get decent videos of for you guys, but these decks to revisit every week or so isn't so bad either, just because, you know, these are the more popular decks and some of the better winning decks at the moment for ladder. Plus, with the rotation coming up, we're bound to have heaps of new content as soon as that drops, so be aware, be ready for that. We're kind of since we're in the last month of Starforged Legends, there isn't a lot to really show off, which is kind of unfortunate. But anyway, this deck has been winning tournaments left and right, I would say. It's been really good. I mean, if you watched Rage, you'd see how good Mid Shadow has been performing. Also, a lot of the NGE decks, you know, most of the people are bringing, you know, Mid Shadow, which is awesome. This variant, of course, for me personally, doesn't run 3 hectare. There's basically one reason for that. I only have 2 of them, and I don't have a third one, and can't really bother crafting it this late in the game, even though it probably wouldn't be a bad craft. So I just put a Saber's Altar, which is just a Dark Blade Fiend in instead, just, you know, change the count around. Everything else is a pretty stock standard deck. You could probably mess with some of the numbers, like you've got 2 Soul Squasher, depending on your evolvedness, you could put 3. Of course, you know, you could mess around with the numbers of Death's Breath. This deck has 2. You could change Immortal Thane to 2 and put 3, you know. Just little things you can alter. Numbers are usually the thing that you change based on the metas, and this deck on its own has been actually pretty good. I had a surprisingly good matchup against Forest, and a pretty good matchup against most other classes. Obviously, you do get dominated by like a ward control deck, and mirror matches aren't always the best. But if you know how to play Thane pretty well, and you can manage to pull off some decent soul conversion or demon it is with Thane, and then set up for demon lords that can combo off either the Thanes or the Death Breath, you're usually going to be in a good spot. Of course, for the early game, you are looking to mulligan any 1 or 2 drop that you can, occasionally keeping Bone Chimera or Ceres, depending on matchup. Ceres in particular if you are going up against aggro and you already have a 1 or 2 drop. And Bone Chimera if you basically need to set up for, I don't know, anything really. Bone Chimera I find is great to have in a mirror match. It's also good against Forest, not so good against Blood, but otherwise just a solid card in this particular meta right now. So we'll check out some games and get right to it. So here we are. We've got, of course, Forest. Forest is, I would at least say, one of the top 2 decks still. Nothing's really going to topple it here, especially since at the moment the top 2 decks are any deck that can really take you from 20 to 0 in a single turn, which for the most part is pretty unfair as a class mechanic. Like, I enjoy small combos, but ridiculous ones like that are highly consistent are just not very fun to play against. And not very fun to play as in a lot of cases, because if you don't have your combo pieces, you've lost the game anyway. But we start off with pretty much nothing. I mean, it's not worth playing Soul Squasher, it's not worth playing really anything. Luckily the Belinus, perfect draw, setting up for this Unica, meaning we can at least remove it from the game. Plus we're going to do pretty alright. I mean, Ceres is going to be a solid play no matter what. And Bone Chimera, of course, which works nicely against the Pure-Hearted Singer once it gets pinged for 1. Plus soul conversion. So lots of good options. I do like to kind of keep things on their toes here for this, especially Bone Chimera. Bone Chimera is a great one. If you can get that out against Forest in the early game before they can swarm you with fairies, usually going to be right. Plus, being a force out Illyrial works really well when you have Soul Squasher. Usually pulling those 4 shadows is very easy to do. And since you're usually using Demon Lord to boost your board, you're not too worried about actually using it for anything else. So I decided to hold the Soul Squasher though, using the Lurching Corpse instead, just because I know what Forest can run, I know what evolves to look for. And at the time, I was mainly worried about things like Kindly Trent here, which if gets evolved, would be a little hard for me to deal with, especially in this turn. So dealing with Illyrial with a Soul Squasher just didn't seem worthwhile in my opinion. Plus, Death's Breath just ended up being perfect. If I had a Soul Squasher, I wouldn't be able to use that to the same advantage. Well, I probably could have. I mean, the ward is great. It blocks out a lot of combo, but it's just having to run these wards just to block out Forest, and considering that it's going to be really difficult to do a lot of the time if you don't have the perfect play setup, just isn't a fun way to go. And of course, Demon Lord. Pretty good. Not worth playing here, just because we don't really have a setup for it. And again, not using the Soul Squasher, I think this time, because I actually didn't have the shadows to utilize it. But they do still have one more evolve, so I can still take advantage of it. And if I don't, it's not a big deal. It's not a huge loss considering how I've played this match so far. And being able to give everything +1 draw, even if we have to play Soul Squasher as a negative, it's still going to get us the draw power that we need. So of course, Beauty and the Beast, 7-8, plus the Evolve gives them really solid stats. Not too much that you can really do against that. Best idea is just to hope that you can block it off, which that Immortal Thane was absolutely perfect for, on 8 with Soul Conversion, setting up the Bane Ward, while at the same time pinging 2 damage along with the followers on board is just awesome. Thane is got to be one of my favourite cards to just play out like this. The value you get on board, the chances to go for lethal, just the way they have to force to remove it. Such a solid card. I'll be sad to see Thane go eventually one day. Plus, Thane is a really good setup into Demon Lord. I mean, if they don't force remove it, Demon Lord just boosts everything, and then what do? Nothing. Nothing at all. So, still pinging a little more damage. And considering what we've got left, this is where Soul Squasher was perfect. I didn't expect the Crystal in Aaron, but Soul Squasher deals with it just nicely, while Demon Lord can boost it and trade it into the 9-4 really effectively, while giving us plenty of damage this turn. This is why I actually enjoy playing mid-show as it is now. It was absolutely toxic in Tempest of the Gods, and even a bit after that. Once we got the nerf to Hector, a few other cards were changed. Nothing too broken has really been introduced. Zeros has been a nice addition. You really don't see this deck, like you see it being powerful, but you don't see it being absolutely busted, which is nice. It definitely has a lot of good potential. I am a bit worried though that this is all Shadow's really got at this point. I mean, Nep Shadow is very meme-y orientated, I guess. It's not that good. But who knows, with the addition of more cards, we may see some interesting Shadow decks and a new mechanic coming on the way. If we haven't heard about it already, it just depends on when this video gets released. I believe it will only be a few days, but I usually like to have a little backlog of videos so I can work on everything else for you guys, whether that is the card reviews or whether it's articles and stuff that I'm hopefully planning to have done, or just anything else in general, like the tournament, which I believe is running today as of this video's release, so either you guys would have checked it out by now because this video will come out actually this video should come out dead on the tournament, so if you want to, you should be able to head over to Twitch, check out the Shadow Nexus Twitch channel and look at the tournament there, if I'm right about when this is coming out. So this match starts off pretty normal. It's definitely a very mirror kind of orientated matchup. I mean, what else would be running that? And of course, Bone Chimera straight away, which is actually really good. Ceres plus some damage to face. They really can't push this Lurching Corpse too hard, which I enjoy. And Belenus, I mean, why not? It kind of sucks that my Ceres doesn't trade very well with this Belenus. I wish it could do better, but beggars can't be choosers in some matchups. Although we certainly have options, Soul Conversion being one of them. We do have to get a little bit lucky here, which we do, hitting that Belenus instead of hitting the 1-1, which lets us set up the Ceres and trade it just perfectly. There's no point leaving up the Bone Chimera at this point, because no matter what they do, they're probably just going to ram it anyway if they wanted to go Catacomb. And anything else they really want to play, they're just going to do it anyway, so there's no point leaving it up to ping damage to my face. May as well just deal with it while we can, not worry. So, turn 6 with 2 Bone Chimeras, I can definitely see where this is going, especially considering Demon Lord and Immortal Thane turn 7, so, you know, potential clear, we just throw the Thane. If not, Demon Lord for a shit ton of damage. Either way, I'm happy. Of course, Belenus still being as pain in the ass as it is, just because that last word is so random. The odds of it hitting something good, yeah. against Shadow in this case is pretty high. It's definitely a good card though. You wouldn't want to not run it when you have it available to you. So a few options. I mean, Zombie Party was looking like the best one, just because I can use the Evolve here and trade into the Ceres, and with the ping off the Belinus onto the 1/1 wasn't really an issue. Means even if they decide to remove something from this board, Demon Lord can pretty much dominate it, especially when it's summoning its own zombies. And if not, I just go face for as much as I can. So I do have a few options actually now. Thinking about Thane, removing those two are very important, so trading the 1/1s here would be really beneficial. Then, with what I just drew in my hand, Death's Breath, filling the board completely with wards, which cannot trade with the 6/3, meaning they're not going to be able to proc their own ward. Pretty good. So unless they have a way to proc their own ward, which I don't believe they would, I'm in a pretty good spot. They do alright though, trading here. Getting some good value, especially with Catacomb. Lucky for me though, I have a pretty nice play with the Demon Lord. Of course, I do have to waste a zombie basically, which is kind of unfortunate. But getting that 12 damage to their face is just that important, especially when I have Thane and Demon Eater in hand. So even with a complete board wipe, I should be able to win straight away. Mainly because mid Shadow has literally like 0 heals outside of Ceres, and if they play Ceres, I'm not too worried. I can play Immortal Thane, proc it, play its ward up. What are they going to do from there? They've pretty much got to kill it or leave it up, and leaving it up really isn't a good option. So no real potential lethal for them anyway. But for me, even with a full board clear, Thane Demon Eater, an easy way to get around the Right King along with just win. Pretty easy. Ping those 2 damage and that'll be game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. You'll find this deck list in the description below. It is great to play and it's doing quite well, especially at the moment. So be sure to check it out and I'll catch you next time. See ya.